What's going on, Broncos country? Welcome on into a live edition of the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here, running through all of the latest as we are just over a week away from the NFL draft. So lots of content to get to on today's show. But as always, I do want to hear from you guys at home. Let me know where you are tuning in from. This might sound like cheesy, but it truly is one of my favorite parts of the entire week, because I just find it so fascinating to see how far and wide a specific fan base stretches and that it knows no boundaries. So let me know in the chat right now where you are watching from. Shout out your city as we get ready for today's live show. A lot of coverage I want to get to when it comes to some trade rumors, some draft rumors, and a mailbag, which is your opportunity to be a part of the show. So let's see where everyone is tuning in from. We got Michael in the chat. Mike is in the chat already getting a question in. Shout out to you, Mike. Before I can even give you the instructions, letting me know what your question is, the good old hashtag Broncos in the chat. Who else we got tuning in to us today here? Aaron Gonzalez is watching from Los Angeles. Aaron, thank you for tuning in. Aaron, I know that you were with us for our live free agency palooza, so make sure you come back for the draft as well. Mike is watching from Wake Forest, Raleigh, Durham, and are you leaving? Where are we going, Mike? We're all over the place. I'm going nowhere. I'm here right now with you, Mike. So we're hanging out. We're talking Broncos with you guys right now, as Juan is in Reno, Nevada. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Shout out your city for me in the chat. Don't be a stranger. Feel free to hop in as Pyongyang, North Korea, is getting some representation. Those firewalls must not be working very well right now. Mike, I am not on the Saints channel. I don't know where that rumor came from, but this is Chat Sports. We are a company partially based in rumors, so I can't say that you're wrong for going down that well. Day is in Westminster. Julian's in Broomfield. I got watching from the Netherlands right now from Big Lock, tuning in from across the pond. Thank you for watching with us here. So shout out your city for me, like I said in the chat. Let me know where you are tuning in from. While you're doing that, I'll let you know that we have a mailbag coming up in our live show today. So if you want to be a part of that mailbag, use hashtag Broncos like Mike did, or super chat. If you super chat, you skip the line, we guarantee your question, your take, your idea gets on screen for everyone watching to see. So let me know what question you might have right now as we gear up for next week's draft, whether it is round 1 related, round 2/3 related, trade related, anything under the sun related to this team. I'm going to do my best to answer for you, but you got to use hashtag Broncos. Or if you want to guarantee that your question, your take, your idea hops on screen, super chat and you skip the line and we'll throw it on for everyone watching to see. Okay. Coming up on today's show, I want to discuss the possibility of Denver trading for Jalen Ramsey, which seems a little bit far-fetched, but I thought it might have not a slight chance of happening, but a great enough chance of happening that it's worth having the discussion over. And then some draft rumors that I think will really catch your interest, so make sure you stick around for that. And then that mailbag, like I just talked about, use hashtag Broncos. We've got Juan saying he was born in Denver. Mike, I think you were pranked indeed. We've got Smoke tuning in from Memphis. Love to see it. Here we go. All right. Are we ready to jump into our live show today, Mr. Moustakas? We've got Trace Moose on the 1s and 2s, helping us get this plane off the ground, like the rocket that went to space today. Did you see that, Katy Perry?
No, I didn't. She went to
She went to space.
Shut up. Really?
Yeah, I don't. I think Bezos sponsored the rocket, and like 10 women went 340,000 feet, which is like 10 times the usual like cruising altitude of a commercial airliner, and they were there for 10 minutes and then came right back down and landed in the desert. So yeah,
That is, I mean, how many people can say they went to space?
that's good trivia right there. I think it's like a over under 100. You think?
I'm going to say over 100, but not much.
Because I think it's frequent flyers that go there. You know what I mean? Like if I went 10 times, I'd count just myself once. I'm going to put it at under 100. But the International Space Station, you think over or under?
Like I said, I'm going to go over 100.
You go over?
but
I'll
I
go
think,
under.
Like 120 at the most.
Yeah. How many people have been to space? So, well over 100. 682 have
weren't even
reached the
close.
altitude of space. But when I think space, I think like space, the moon. You know what I mean? That sounds like pussy space. Okay, we've got Juan getting a question in. All right, here we go. Let's jump into our first segment on today's live show. Quick reminder, click that thumbs up button if you are just tuning in. It does help grow and support the channel, so it will go a long way to get more eyeballs here, more subscribers, then more content for you all at home. It's also, I don't know, Moose, not exaggerating, it feels like 55 degrees in this room right now. So I'm wearing a jacket for the whole live today. It's so cold in here.
It is so cold in the Chat Sports office.
Yeah, it's been an icebox for like a month and a half. But 55 doesn't sound cold, but 55 indoors with no sun, it gives you goosebumps.
We had just a quick little before we start. We had an employee who is working currently on the Chat Sports office in the renovation department came to me last week and said, in all seriousness, I heard that there was a studio that was too warm here. And I looked at him incredulously. I was like, you must be joking.
Yeah.
And he said, no, I heard there was one that was too hot. And I'm
Impossible.
Like,
Impossible. It's so cold. Here we go. Let's rock and roll. Let's talk Broncos right now. I want to talk about the possibility of the Broncos trading for Jalen Ramsey after the Miami Dolphins star cornerback and the team mutually agreed to explore trade options, according to Ian Rappaport. So, surface level, Denver does not jump out to me as a team that would be in the running for Ramsey. They just gave Pat Surtain a monster contract extension, and, contract aside, they have Pat Surtain, so you never really think of the Broncos needing a corner when they've already got the best corner in the National Football League. But the more I thought about it, I wouldn't say the more I tried to convince myself of it, but the more I started to map out a slight path, we'll put it, for the Broncos landing Ramsey. And this path is rooted in the decision makers between George Paton and Sean Payton. And I'll show you what I'm talking about in a second. But I'll just lead off with Ramsey to Denver is unlikely, but I don't think it's impossible. And I think that's an important distinction because with the draft coming around the corner, it's important to note that every single team is going to be doing some level of kicking the tires on good players and good prospects that could be in reach for them. Now, the reason why I'm not just going to completely shut the book and slam the door on Ramsey potentially coming to the Broncos is when you go back to George Paton's early tenure with the team, like his first season with the Broncos, remember what he invested a ton of in? Corners. I remember my first year covering this team for Chat Sports, and there were 5 notable corners on this team in 2021. Kyle Fuller, signed by the Broncos, joining Vic Fangio after a long stretch together in Chicago. Ronald Darby came over. Pat Surtain was the 9th overall draft pick. Bryce Callahan was a highly paid nickel corner at the time. Michael Ojemudia was a 3rd-round draft pick the season prior. That's a lot of investment into the cornerback position. And I think that gives us a window into what George Paton values the most when it comes to ranking positions. So we have some evidence that he likes to make sure that the cornerbacks are well stocked. That is not a position he wants to go light at. And with Sean Payton always being aggressive when it comes to offseason moves and using some pretty good, valuable assets on corners while he was in New Orleans, I feel that Jalen Ramsey, while it's still a slim chance, I don't think this is something we completely just brush off as impossible, never in a billion years would this happen. If it was a player at, say, quarterback, yeah, I think we could brush that off as never in a billion years does this happen because you already have a quarterback. And while you do have an outstanding corner in Pat Surtain, opposite of him, I don't think there's question marks, but I think there's willingness to explore options a little bit, right? Because you've got Riley Moss, who I think showcased a ton of potential in his second year, but really just his first year as the starter. And I think Jaquan McMillan's one of the most underappreciated cornerbacks, period, in football. But after those three guys, can we all agree there's some level of uncertainty at corner? And I'd be willing to explore better options to improve that room because we saw once Moss went down last year how vulnerable that defense became. So Ramsey could be an excellent, not just depth piece, but I think he could be more than a backup corner. I think he could be someone that takes, I would say, the next step in his career, but takes a sideward step, maybe to a different position. And that's where I want to transition right now, too, because last year, Ramsey in 17 games showed that he is still a starting quality player in the National Football League. And over the last 4 years of his career, he still has great ball skills. 4 picks, 3 picks, 2 picks. I mean, he has a knack for the football. Look at the pass breakups, too. That part of his game is not really going away. Is it the same when he was a Pro Bowl, All-Pro player in 2021? Probably not. But I don't think you'd be paying him what he was getting paid back then and would have required for a trade for him back then. So here's where I'm building up to. All right. You don't have to go for Jalen Ramsey, the corner. How about Jalen Ramsey, the DB? How about Ramsey takes that next step in his career as a versatile, older veteran defensive back that offers you versatility between cornerback and safety? Something we saw Kareem Jackson do. Remember when he started off in Houston, he was a corner coming out of Alabama. But what do Broncos fans know him best as? A safety. Is it that preposterous to say, hey, Ramsey, we've got some corner depth concerns. So if an injury were to pop up there, boom, you slot right in immediately. But if our top 3 guys stay healthy, we like them, we like what we're paying them, so we can find a home for you kind of floating a little bit between corner and safety. And could you imagine a secondary with a healthy Talanoa Hufanga, Patrick Surtain, Jalen Ramsey, just eyeing down the quarterback? You probably clicked on this video thinking, this is dumb, we don't need to trade for Jalen Ramsey. And maybe at this point of the video, you're going, you sold me. I think Jalen Ramsey, Surtain, and Hufanga, and Brandon Jones, and Riley Moss, with this incredible NFL #1 pass rush in sacks a year ago, could be the thing that really ends Patrick Mahomes' reign at the top of the AFC West Mountain. You get the second step forward from Bo Nix in year 2. You pair him with a rookie running back like Omarion Hampton and that top 5, top 10 offensive line. Cortland Sutton coming off the #1 year of his career. Evan Ingram slots in at tight end. To me, that seems like a roster that could really give the Chiefs a run for their money in the division for the first time in a decade. Ramsey might not be the missing piece of this team, but Ramsey might be the piece that pushes this defense over the edge and gets them in the playoffs in a spot where they're not there as like a feel-good story as a 7 seed, but they are there to win playoff games, plural. And the versatility and the depth that Ramsey could bring, tell me that's not a little bit intriguing. So let me toss you your way. I'm going to throw the ball into your court. Do you think the Broncos should pursue Jalen Ramsey? When I saw the tweet from Rap Sheet this morning, I did not wake up thinking, Bronco. But now I'm standing here going, Bronco? All right, before we look at the rest of today's episode, I do have to give a quick shout out to our friends over at GameTime. GameTime makes getting tickets faster and easier, even for hard-to-get playoff seats. Prices on the GameTime app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, GameTime takes the guesswork out of buying NBA playoff tickets. So if you want to go see the Nuggets or you want to go see the Avs or the Rockies, make sure you check out GameTime. Save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Now, I put all this information in the comments and description of today's video, but take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHAT Sports for $20 off. Shout out to GameTime for supporting us here at Chat Sports. Go support them as well if you want to go see your favorite team play. Download the GameTime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So if I got you hooked onto my line for Ramsey coming to the Broncos, let's now talk about what it would really cost to get, because that's a very important part of the equation. I've got two trade ideas. One is pre-draft, one is post-draft. If the Broncos get this done tomorrow, I think it could look something like this. Denver gives up a 4th-round draft pick, and they get Ramsey in a 7th. This way they don't lose total draft capital. They are just falling from 4 to 7, and the Dolphins jumping up a couple of rounds. Miami gets a player who I think I don't really know why are ready to move on from. They gave him a 3-year extension back in September, but that's for Miami to figure out. So that's one idea for a pre-draft trade if you're wondering what's a fair compensation. I mean, Ramsey was traded to Miami in 2022 for a 3rd and a player. This is around a 4th to an early 5th. Yeah, a little bit older. Seems about fair to me. Now, post-June 1, which would also be after the NFL draft, is a lot easier for Miami to manage financially when it comes to a trade. So if the Dolphins tell Ramsey, we're not dealing until after June 1st, when we get much more cap relief for a trade, because we can split the dead money over 2 off seasons, I think a future 5th-round draft pick is in the neighborhood of what Miami could expect to get in a trade. They're going to get his contract off their books. The Broncos probably agree to a new kind of rework deal for Ramsey. He's going to not get total money he signed up for, that $72 million contract from Miami, but that's why players always look at the guarantees, or agents definitely do. So this is an idea of what a pre-draft and a post-draft trade could cost for the Broncos. Now, if a trade does happen, and we get some rumors, we get some updates, we're going to keep you informed. So make sure to subscribe. I would love to get to 35,000 subscribers by the time the NFL draft kicks off. So do me a big favor and click that sub button down below. Now, at Chat Sports, we have a Dolphins channel. It's run by my coworker, Nick Roloff, and he put together a couple of Ramsey destinations. So while we just kind of go down this vein for a moment, here are the 5 teams he cooked up. And he does not have the Broncos on there. I don't think that's a crime or an offense. Like I said, when I first saw the trade, I didn't think Denver immediately, but I'm just starting to think of how aggressive the Broncos could be in this offseason, in this draft, knowing, hey, we have something at Bo Nix. There's blood in the water for the Chiefs after what the Eagles just did to them in the Super Bowl. So let's strike while the iron's hot, and let's add to this already impressive defense and make it, even one bit more outstanding. So I feel that these teams all have some good pros and cons to them. If I had to pick one, maybe the 49ers, I think, are kind of going for a little, not like a retool. Eagles have got 2 good young corners. So unless they want to make Ramsey a safety, which I proposed, and sort of like Asante Samuel, I don't think they make a lot of sense. The Cowboys love to do this. They like to say that they're interested so their fans know that they're trying, but they're actually never interested. The same thing happened with Cooper Kupp. Vikings and Chargers. Keep an eye on these 2 teams right there. So to kind of go full circle and round out this video, if Denver does not get Jalen Ramsey, that should not be a surprise to anyone. And I'm confident with these current corners, right? The purpose of this video is not Riley Moss should not be a starting cornerback on this team. If anything, Riley Moss showed us how valuable he was last year when he was off the field. Remember that 4-game stretch after the Raiders win in Las Vegas and some of the losses they picked up after that? they were desperate to get Moss back on the field. So I am confident with, of course, Pat Surtain. It's more so talking about Moss and McMillan here. I'm confident that those two guys are, starting caliber players, and I don't think they have to trade for Ramsey to put Jalen in the starting lineup. I think a trade for Ramsey is to add some depth at the cornerback position and also add a third safety to Brandon Jones and Talanoa Hufanga because PJ Locke just didn't get it done for me last year. So I like these corners, but I could see Denver looking to bring more firepower, bring another nuclear weapon to this defensive back room when they face Herbert, Harbaugh, Reed, Mahomes, Pete Carroll, and Geno Smith. 6 games right there against quarterbacks who, if the worst of the bunch is Geno Smith, the ceiling is pretty terrifying. All right, that's going to do it for us on today's episode, but let's wrap it up by naming a random Broncos corner. I think we've done this before, but it's always fun to kind of revisit it a little bit. So let's name a random Broncos corner. I'm thinking of one in my head. All right, I've got mine. Here we go. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Michael Ojemudia. I'm cheating a little bit because we included him in the video earlier, but third-round pick out of Iowa who I thought was decent for a rookie and then out of the league 3 years later. So that's the NFL for you right there. Okay, appreciate everyone for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to sign off and catch up with you all later. Champ Bailey, good one, Mickey. Good one, Atlantis. Did we get some news breaking in the NFL? Oh, no. I just misread the corner of my laptop. We're good. Mailbag coming up in about 20 or so minutes, so start peppering your questions into the chat. Use hashtag Broncos or Super Chat. If you Super Chat, you skip the line, and Moose puts your question on screen for all of our beautiful and intelligent viewers to see. We got 26 likes. We're going to start our next segment, which is all about some draft rumors, once we get to 30 likes. So I need 4 more people to like the video. Weston, great to see you in the chat. Ooh, Aaron, I like that. Bradley Roby, Saints legend, good one. And we got VT92, great to see you in the chat going with Tony Carter. John Dobbs, got me there. Absolutely not. Overpaid, declining start. I know it's slow news. Maybe take a break until the draft. John, that's a good way for me to lose my job if I follow your advice on that one. I felt like, I did my absolute best to convey my reasoning for why Jalen Ramsey to the Broncos. Well, I'm not trying to pass it off as hey, keep an eye on this one. It's got some real legs to it, but as something to not just completely disregard, given that right now it feels like a good time for the Broncos to kind of take a swing at something with the AFC West maybe feeling more in reach than ever before.
So what do you think about this? I know you're high on Ramsey maybe potentially going to safety. What if you pushed him out to nickel corner and had him play a little bit more of a physical?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he's a bigger corner. He hits hard. He's still good in coverage, but I feel like at this point, is he as fast as he used to be and able to keep up with some of the bigger wide receiver ones?
I just like McMillan too much at nickel to take him off the field. He has been such a, I would say breath out of fresh air. Wow, backwards. Breath of fresh air. But it was just such a surprise, breakout in 2023. So if it involves him going off the field, you start to lose my interest. We're at 28 likes, 2 more likes to get to 30 likes, and then we're going to talk some draft rumors all about Denver possibly trading pick number 20. We'll look at that. But 2 more viewers, click that thumbs up button so we can jump into our second segment. And then that mailbag, use hashtag Broncos or Super Chat if you want to be a part of the mailbag. Right now I want to see a question from Weston Berger, and give me a question from Atlantis Gaming. 2 longtime viewers on the channel. Looking at you two to get a question in the chat right now for that mailbag. All right, 2 more likes, and then we can jump into segment number 2 on our live show today. 1 more like, 1 like away. Who wants to be lucky number 30? Greatly appreciate those of you that support the channel. Chris getting another cornerback in, Darian Gordon. Juan is getting a question in. Appreciate it, Juan. Waiting on Atlantis Gaming and Weston for their questions. One more like. Let's do it. Team effort. Come on. Just a good old tug-of-war style here. It's fun staring at just waiting for the update. One like to go, and then we're talking draft rumors. Don't blue ball us like this. I think everyone's just doing a Mexican standoff right now, waiting to see who's going to blink first. Come on. There it is. 30 likes. All right. Moose, let's jump into some draft rumors. Danny, Aiden. Danny, you can always just slap hashtag Broncos at the end of like a thought, and we can break down your take. Doesn't have to be formatted in a traditional question way. We got Sunderland in the house. I'm pretty sure they're at the bottom of the EPL or the top of the Champions League. There's Sunderland, and then there's South. One of them had like a Netflix documentary about that. I think it was Sunderland. That was a good Netflix documentary. Here we go. ESPN came out with an article where they talked about some teams that could be looking to trade their pick in round 1 of the 2025 NFL draft. And spoiler, the Denver Broncos were on that list. So I want to look at these trade rumors and talk about where Denver could potentially move up or back to, what they could get in return as well. But here are the 4 teams that ESPN highlighted as trade down candidates. The Saints at number 9. That one makes some sense to me. I know people are really pushing Shedeur Sanders to them, but I think they are more than a quarterback away, and they should be looking to add more pieces around their roster. The Falcons at 15, Denver at 20, and then the Commanders at 29. So let's zero in on the Broncos at 20 and talk about what a trade back could look like, with who, what they could get, and most importantly, does it make any sense? Now here's what Field Yates from ESPN wrote. The Broncos strike me as a trade down candidate for 2 reasons. First, this roster does not have many glaring needs. The most popular position linked to Denver in this pre-draft process has been running back, which could easily be filled in a later round. So, timeout. I'm just going to jump in here and say yes and no. Field is correct that the Broncos roster does not really appear like they have a gaping hole, but if you watched this team last year, running back was a gaping hole because there were holes to run through that no running back did. So I don't see eye to eye with him on that level, but he's not wrong about this running back class being so loaded at that spot that you could afford to trade back a little bit and still get a really good back. So if a top 10 player, for example, or someone in this neighborhood starts to slip a little bit towards 20, I don't expect these guys to really be there. But if you look at this kind of range of players, and this is all from Dane Brugger's big board here, top 20, none of these players are running backs outside of Ashton Genty. And Denver doesn't really have a huge need at some of these positions. But other teams might have a huge need at these positions. So if the Broncos don't want to feel like they are reaching on a running back because they don't have a desire to go receiver, defensive end, something like that in round 1, then a trade back could make a lot of sense, and they get a good back later on the draft, and they get more draft capital at the same time. So that's where I think that Field Yates' first point holds some water, but I do want to push back on the glaring need part. Running back is a glaring need, and if you can get your number 1 back at 20, sure, it might look like a reach by some, but I think people would have said, oh, you took Derrick Henry in the first round, that's a reach. You took Nick Chubb in the first down, that was a reach. If we look back, would that be considered a reach? No, I don't think so. And also, Sean Payton told us last year, he doesn't really give a damn what other people think when it comes to where players should go in the draft. They're going to go out and get their guys. And if Omarion Hampton or Caleb Johnson is their guy, I don't expect them to, play with their food and see if they can get them later. No, if they want them, they're going to go get them at pick number 20. But for the entertainment factor here, if you still want to know what a trade back could look like, here's one idea that I kind of cooked up. It's with the Detroit Lions. The Lions, who had, a really strong year and disappointing playoff finish, are looking to add to their pass rush. And there's a very good pass rusher class. So if one of those top-tier pass rushers, like, say, a Mike Green or in some eyes a Shamir Stewart, falls to 20, I could see Detroit going from 28 to 20. And because the Broncos fall back 8 spots in round 1, they jump up 25 spots in day 2 of the draft. According to the trade value chart, this is slightly an overpay from Detroit. So if you're Denver and you're comfortable with moving back a little bit in round 1, it could be worth the reward of jumping up 25 spots in day 2 of the draft and getting a much better prospect, whereas the guy from 20 to 28 may not be all that different in Denver's eyes. So that's one trade idea for a possible move back from round 1, but still staying in round 1. Now, let me know if you want to see the Broncos trade back from pick number 20. If that's something you're interested in, hit that thumbs up button, like the video. That way I can kind of get a good pulse of everyone watching. If you're not interested, just give me an N for no in the comment section. Now, we're going to explore Field Yates' second reason for a trade back next up on the show. But a quick shout out to our sponsor today, which is GameTime. GameTime makes getting tickets faster and easier, even for hard-to-get playoff seats. Prices on the GameTime app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, GameTime takes the guesswork out of buying NBA playoff tickets. So if you want to go watch the Nuggets or the Avs or the Rockies or any other sporting event in your area, visit GameTime first. Save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but I put all that information for you all in the comments and description of today's video. Again, create an account and redeem code CHAT Sports for $20 off your first purchase. I look at it as GameTime is going to cover your first concession run or your parking, something to that tune with this $20 savings. Download the GameTime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So getting back on track now with this possible trade back from 20, like ESPN suggests. So Field Yates said he had 2 reasons. And we looked at reason number 1, not a glaring need. You can get a good running back later. So why not get some more picks if you're still going to get a running back in round 2 altogether? Here was reason number 2. The second reason involves the team picking directly behind the Broncos, the Steelers. Pittsburgh still hasn't signed Aaron Rodgers. Even if he joins the Steelers, he'll be 42 years old in December. Pittsburgh knows it has to be mindful about its quarterback room for the future. But so do other teams. And as such, another QB-needy team could call Denver to get ahead of the Steelers to secure Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart. This, to me, is the ideal scenario. If you can get 2 to 3 teams bidding for pick number 20 because they are quarterback hungry, they're going to pay the quarterback tax. If they were going after a defensive tackle, they'd give an offer. And if the Denver Broncos called back and said, we want your first next year, they'd go, no, we're not giving up a first for a wide receiver this year and next year. That's preposterous. But a quarterback, well, now I can get a team by the balls a little bit because they're desperate. Because quarterbacks, they move the needle more than any other position. So if one of these 4 guys is there at 20, Shedeur Sanders, Tyler Shuck, Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, 4 guys that I've seen mocked to go as early as 20 in a trade up to early round 2. I could see a team, and I've got 2 in mind, really 3 in mind, that would have interest in moving up to secure the guy they feel is going to be their franchise quarterback. The first team is maybe the most obvious team. It is the Cleveland Browns, because they have cooled off on a quarterback at number 2. All signs are pointing towards Travis Hunter or possibly Abdul Carter. And they have the first pick in round number 2. So I could see Cleveland using that 33rd overall pick to trade back into round 1, get the 5th-year option on a quarterback. And for Denver to fall back from 20 to 33, I could see that running them or receiving a 3rd-round pick this year and a 3rd-round pick in next year's draft. This is just a rough idea as to what it could cost. Don't go to that one. So this is just a, trade value chart for what the going rate would be to jump up to 20 from 33. I think 2 future thirds could accomplish that. And I could see the Browns, if they want to get a quarterback that they love and they don't want to risk the Steelers taking their guy, giving up an extra draft pick or so. Moving on here to the other trade idea for a team that could be quarterback needy, the LA Rams. So, with the Rams bringing back Stafford, but there's not really seeming to be this super, huge commitment to him being around for the long haul, given his age and whatnot, I could see LA jumping from 26 to 20 and Denver getting a future 2nd-round draft pick out of it. So this one's going to cost you a little bit, like in return-wise, less, right? And the other one you're getting somewhat comparable. You're getting 2 picks instead of just 1, but when you're getting a 2nd-rounder from the Rams, keep in mind the last time Denver did that, it was the last pick in round number 2. So don't look at future 2nd and think, oh, that's going to be a prime 2nd-round draft pick. No, Denver made a deal with the Rams for Von Miller and got the last picks in rounds 2 and 3 when they got those picks from LA. So those are 2 quarterback needy-ish teams I could see trading up. The other one that I didn't mention would be the Pittsburgh Steelers. If they want to make sure the Browns or the Rams don't jump them, we saw the Bears move up from 3 to 2 back in 2017 to get Mitch Trubisky. So it's not too common a team trades up just one spot, but it happened last year, right? The Vikings? Didn't Minnesota go from 11 to 10 to get J.J. McCarthy? And I remember the Eagles went from 10 to 9 to get Jalen Carter. So some teams get a little paranoid. And I could see one of those 3 teams getting paranoid and wanting who they think is going to be the quarterback of the next, decade for them. And Denver getting a good amount of draft capital out of it. All right. So reviewing those 3 trades, let me know which one you would like to see the Broncos do the most. Is it the one with Detroit, where they move back towards the end of round 1? The one with the Browns, they fall out of round 1 altogether, but they get 2 future 3rd-round draft picks? Or the trade back with the Rams, where they get a future 2nd-round pick out of it? All right. To wrap up the show, name a Broncos player that was traded for or away. Just some type of trade with the Broncos. Did not come prepared, but I've got one in mind, but I want to kind of dig a little bit deeper. All right, I got one. I doubt anyone says the same player as me for this one. 3, 2, 1. Albert Okwuegbunam. I didn't want to go Bradley Chubb or Von Miller. That seemed too easy. But Albert O traded from Denver to the Eagles on roster cutdown day. I don't know where is Albert O still in the Eagles? Did he get a ring? Maybe. I don't know. Someone fact check me in the comment section. All right. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see everyone later. Did Albert O get a ring? Aaron, did I get you? Ty Man the Buckeye. I didn't know you were a Morgan Wallen and Post Malone fan. That's what you came in here to say. Ty Man, thank you for tuning in. Always appreciate your interactions and your frequent flyer status here with the channel. All right, next up on the show, we have a mailbag, so start getting those questions in. Use hashtag Broncos. I see Danny's in the chat. Danny, great to see you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Ooh, Tyree Cleveland. Is Tyree Cleveland traded? I thought they just released him. Am I thinking of... I'm getting Tyree Cleveland mixed up with who? I'll tell you who I'm getting Tyree Cleveland mixed up with. No, I'm not getting. They drafted. No, I felt like they had another 7th-round receipt. Seth Williams. That's what I was thinking of. All right.
We gotta get couple more questions in here. We are a little light on the questions, so I need everybody who's in the chat right now to hashtag Broncos this and get in on today's mailbag.
Nathan, would you be against trading up in the second round for Hampton if he's there around pick 40? Nathan, slap hashtag Broncos with that question, and I'll answer it during our mailbag. I want to see a question from Michael, and I want to see a question from... let's get one from Michael and Michael Crum. Both Michaels, I want to see questions from you guys in the chat right now. We've got Juan getting questions in earlier today, so don't be a stranger. Any question you have about the draft, I'll do my absolute best to answer it for you. But get in the chat and use hashtag Broncos right now. Can't believe I got someone on Alberto. I did not think anyone else would think Albert Okuwebuna.
You can also get on today's show by super chatting. You skip the line completely, and we'll put it up on screen and give you a big old thank you.
Albert O, I don't think got a ring. Oh, well, maybe. Not looking good, actually. He was released by the Eagles on November 5th. The NFL, I think if you were on the team for a certain amount of time, you get a ring. I don't think you had to be on the roster when the game was won in the Super Bowl.
Well, yeah, because didn't OBJ get one with the Rams? And I don't think he was on.
Well, he was.
How long was he on the team for? I thought he was only on the team for 4 weeks.
But he played in the game for them. That's what I'm saying. But if you were on the team from weeks 1 through 10 and you got traded away, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I think there is a rule in the NFL. I don't know what it is, but I think that there's a certain actual game limit. I think it's 6.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And so I don't know if Alberto was offered a ring. Also, would you accept the ring? I feel like you had to accept it if you're Alberto, but would you really say I won the Super Bowl? Did you though? Ben's got a question in. Okay, Michael, put hashtag Broncos in there and we can discuss it on the show. Michael Crum.
Let's get 2 more questions in and we will start our mailbag.
So I need Michael Crum to throw hashtag Broncos at the end of his kind of statement/question. And that way we can toss it on there. Good one on a random cornerback. I like that. Random trade. All right, Ty Man, appreciate you hopping in the chat. We want to get the first question all queued up, Moose, and then we can just kind of roll in there. Sam I Am just got a question in. So if you think of something, it could be an idea, it could be a take, or a routine question. Just use hashtag Broncos or Super Chat, and we'll include it in the mailbag. All right. I'm ready if you are, Mr. Moose. Mailbag time here on the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. I'm answering questions that came in during our live show, which airs every single Tuesday at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. So let's jump into our first question coming in from Ben Bass. My mock draft earlier, I got Tyler Warren, Ashton Judkins, and Jalen Royals. Impossible? I wouldn't say impossible. 1/3 of this seems impossible. The Tyler Warren part right there, I don't think he gets past the Colts. The Indianapolis Colts pick at 14. So unless Denver wants to trade up for him, which that could happen, if Warren, let's say, gets past the Bears at 10, which that's been somewhat rumored, and Miami's on the clock at 13, if Denver wants to give up a future first to go from 20 to 13, which is roughly in the neighborhood of what it would cost, then they could secure Tyler Warren and they could get Ashton Judkins, Quinshon Judkins, and Jalen Royals in rounds 2 and 3. But it would definitely require a trade up for Warren. I don't think he's going to be there at 20. It is the draft. Crazy things happen, but impossible, no. Unlikely, yes. Judkins, though, you can get in round 2. And then Royals, this is a Utah State receiver that if you want to sound smart in front of your friends, if you're going to watch the draft out at a bar, it's who's this Utah State guy? Just tell them, oh, he's good. Just leave it at that. And if you're a friend who's a team that drafted Jalen Royals, just hit him up with a nice little, oh, you're going to love this player. And that's going to make that guy's day. Danny, next one up on the show. If Denver takes a wide receiver in the first 2 rounds, does that mean the Sutton era is over or extension? No extension. Good question, Danny. I would lean towards yes. If they go receiver in round 1, absolutely. Round 2, that might not be the case. They might have a game plan for round 2, and all of a sudden, like, Luther Burden is there or Matthew Golden is there, and they just simply can't pass on him, but they still like Cortland Sutton, right? They went into the draft thinking, we're going to get Omarion Hampton, and then we're going to get a defensive tackle. And then round 2 arrives, and Golden's available, and they're like, he's way too good to pass on, but we're going to still keep Sutton in the plans long term. So, first 2 rounds, no. First round, I would lean towards yes, but I still think Denver's going to get an extension done with Sutton on a 2 to 3 year basis. Julian, if Las Vegas doesn't take Genty at 6 overall, what are your thoughts on trading up with Carolina in the draft this year's first and second, along with next year's second and third to get him? So just to give the outline here, we're going from 20 to 8. And to jump up 12 spots, you're talking about giving up second round pick this year, future second, and future third. I think Carolina is going to want a future first. I think what you're trying to do is a fantasy football trade where can we give you 3 average players for 1 good player? The Panthers are going to want a future first if they go from 8 all the way to 20. So let me kind of redraw this as this year's first, next year's first, and probably next year's third to go up to 8. I base that off of when the Bears jumped from 20 to 11 to get Justin Fields. They gave up a future first and a future third. You want to go from 20 to 8, future first and future third is precedent. So that's going to be the minimum at least. And would I do that? I don't know. I mean, that's a lot for a running back. I know, but I think Genty is just going to be generational. I think he's going to be a Saquon Barkley, a Christian McCaffrey type running back immediately. So if they do it, I won't be mad. If they don't do it, I can understand why. I can really talk myself into either one. Juan Luis Martinez, why have you not talked about Emeka Egbuka? And what's your opinion on Ty Hamilton, Ohio State defensive tackle? So let's talk about 2 Buckeyes here. Emeka Egbuka, I have not talked about because I don't think that Denver really needs to prioritize wide receiver in this draft. I've been very clear about that. Golden's like the only guy that I think is worth a first-round pick if I'm Denver. So because of that, I don't really have a lot of interest in Egbuka because I don't think he'll be available around pick 50-ish when Denver's back on the clock in round 2. If he is there, okay. Like, I can definitely warm up to it. But I don't think receivers as big of a need as some other people do. So I've cooled off on that in round 1. Now, as for Tyreek Hamilton, you're talking about the Ohio State defensive tackle. He is one of, I want to make sure I don't mix up the other defensive tackle they have, best run-stopping guys in this draft class at that position, which those guys don't usually scream rounds 1 to 2 in the draft. They have to kind of be a generational, like Vita Vea type run stopper, but even he's got some good pass rush upside to his game. Usually the true run stopping DTs go rounds 3 to 4. So I would say that could be more of a late day 2, early day 3 target. Moses, and then we'll tell everyone about our friends at GameTime. Please throw on Luther Burden's every target tape. You'll see an amazing wide receiver that was just held back from terrible quarterback play. Moses, I don't think you're wrong for this belief as to why he didn't have the production he had in 2023 this past year. Brady Cook was injured, and he definitely was a casualty of that. My concern with Burden, the reason why I haven't been very outspoken or an agenda pusher for him at 20 is, one, he is predominantly a yards after catch type of receiver. But vast majority of receptions have come within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. So that, to me, starts to downplay his ability to run multiple routes. And for pick 20, I don't want a one-trick pony. In round 3, I'll ride that one-trick pony until it falls off, right? But round one, I need a guy that can do a lot for me at receiver, not just yards after catch. And that's where I could easily be wrong, and will look back and laugh at me. And that's where, if Luther Burden has a successful NFL career, the reason why I got it wrong in pre-draft was I kind of looked at him as a yards after catch guy, not someone who can stretch the field, who can run lots of routes. And for round one, I like that in a wide receiver. I also think this receiver room is better than people give it credit for. And as for the quarterback part, you're not wrong. Yeah, that definitely dinged his stock and profile. I'd hope that a receiver that goes round one is so talented that bad or average quarterback play does not bring them down. That's why receivers go round one, the ones that do. They're so good, it doesn't matter who you pair them with, they can still put up great numbers. Now, before we move on to the rest of today's mailbag, I do have to give a quick shout out to GameTime. GameTime makes getting tickets faster and easier, even for hard to get playoff seats. Prices on the GameTime app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. GameTime takes the guesswork out of buying NBA playoff tickets. So let's say you want to go watch the Nuggets, or you want to go watch the Avs or the Rockies. I suggest you visit GameTime first, see what kind of deals they have going. They have zone deals, they'll have flash deals, plus last-minute deals. Save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. Download the GameTime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Next question rolling in from Sam I Am. They need to pick up a veteran running back. I hear that. They've got like this. They're in a weird state running back room wise. On one hand, like the running back room was bad last year. On the other hand, you've got Audric Estime going into year 2, so you kind of want to save a spot for him on the roster, right? Jaleel McLaughlin, I don't want to give up on just yet. Am I wrong? Do we feel the same way? Can we agree that like there should be a plan to have McLaughlin on the roster next year still? So there's 2 backs right there. So if you plan on taking your rookie, usually you only carry 3 running backs. So I'm not really finding a hole for a spot for another running back. And you've already got a lot of other competition with like Tyler Bidet and Blake Watson. Now those guys are not locks to make the roster, but I want to say Estime and McLaughlin, well, they shouldn't be locks. You should pencil them in for the roster. And if you plan on drafting a rookie, there's your 3rd running back. And you already have a fullback of Michael Burton. So you're going to take 5 backs? If you add a veteran, you're looking at minimum 5 backs unless you want to dump Estime after 1 season or Jaleel McLaughlin, which I'm not comfortable doing just yet. Sam, I am appreciate your thought, though. UMC Smoke, will they pick Tej Johnson? I don't think that they're going to treat this like an MLB draft. MLB drafts go like 40 rounds, don't they? And by round 40, like, teams make silly picks. And they make picks they're not very serious about. The NBA draft has a very storied history of it used to be way too long. And, like, the Boston Celtics, I think, one time drafted a chair. Because, like, we're out of players to draft. I think they drafted a dead person one time. Look it up. There's, like, a really funny, like, history of this. The NFL is 7 rounds. You're not out there making, like, fun, feel-good story picks because Bo Nix has a connection with Tej Johnson. He had a bad combine. Like, the height, the weight, and the speed were alarmingly low and slow. But the the tape and the pads on tell a different story. I think he's likely going to be a 6th or 7th round draft pick. At that point, depending on what Denver does rounds 1 through 5, I could see that being a possibility. I can't look at you with a straight face and go, yes, Denver will make this pick in round 7. Denver doesn't know who they're getting in round 7. UMC Smoke, thank you, though. Aaron Gonzalez, I really want Mitchell Evans, tight end from Notre Dame. Little biased because I'm a Fighting Irish fan, but I think he's underrated. He's a big dude, pause. He's a good blocker, and he has good hands. Before I even open up my mouth, how about producer Moose, who is a diehard Notre Dame fan, gives you a much better response as someone that watched every single Notre Dame game this past season. Moose, all yours.
Yes. So Mitchell Evans, not the best tight end out of Notre Dame in recent years. He wasn't nearly as productive as Michael Mayer. However, I think that a lot of what, was kind of up in the air for Evans was because Riley Leonard is a very at the line of scrimmage kind of player, and Evans is a middle of the field tight end. So their games just did not mesh well. He did really well with like slot receivers and X receivers that take screens really well. So I like Mitchell Evans as a prospect. I think you're going to see a much better NFL career than you saw last year at Notre Dame.
All right. There it is from our Notre Dame insider. Next question coming in. Just a moment. Danny, I would love to see Omarion Hampton and Caleb Johnson, we think, in the backfield dream team. That would be a lot of fun, but I don't think they're too similar in like style backs, right? They're both bruising running backs. Go get Thunder and Lightning. Don't do Thunder and Thunder. Go get a Lightning guy. A Lightning guy would be like Devin Neal out of Kansas. Pair him with Omarion Hampton. AFX, $5 super chat. Trade for, who is this? Trade for blank. He would likely be a good partner for Garrett, but Browns, LOL, must watch Squid Game. I don't know who Kebab is. I'm trying to. Caleb who? I don't know. AFX, I'm sorry. I don't know who Kebab is. You lost me. So, this one's just going to die on screen. Sorry. Chris L. Hometown kid, Troy Horton in round 4. I'm not going to say that I'm a round 4 prospect expert, but let's see what happens rounds 1 through 3. But a hometown pick is always a good feel-good story. Okay, go back to AFX's. AFX saying trade for Kayvon Thibodeau would be a good partner for, I believe he's talking about Myles Garrett, but Broncos. So, Kayvon Thibodeau, I don't think is leaving the Giants, but they do draft Brian Burns. Draft Abdul Carter. Brian Burns. Kayvon Thibodeau is now the odd man out. If we have one more question, we can wrap it up with that one, and then we'll sign off. That's the last question. Meant to be. All right, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let's do name a random New York Giant. You ready? I got one. You can play 2, Moose. See if we say the same person. Here we go. Name a random New York Giant. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Jeremy Shockey.
Darius
Slay. Good one. All right. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see everyone next time. AFX, are you saying trade Kayvon Thibodeau to the Browns or to the Broncos? Because you put both teams there, and you lost me there. Ooh, Victor Cruz, good one. I like that one. Phil Simms, very nice. All right. That will do it for us on today's live show. Thank you all so much for tuning in, for hanging out with us. Hope you enjoyed everything we broke down. And if you did, give us a like on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. And we'll keep you up to speed on all things Broncos, building up to day 1 of the NFL Draft next Thursday.